Good afternoon and welcome to 365 Days of Amazing Stories with Theo Mayer. Here we are on day 150 and I'm continuing the story of the King of the Black Isles from 1001 Arabian Nights. Now remember that the Sultan had found the King of the Black Isles. Half a man, half marble. He'd heard his sad tale and committed himself to do anything that he could to help the king. And as he was hearing the story, he was wondering how his actions could free the king. He was beginning to devise a plan, it seemed like. And by the time that he was done, the King of the Black Isles, telling the story, the Sultan asked, "Where does this wicked woman live now?" And the King of the Black Isles said, "I really don't know where she lives presently, but she will be in the morning here to beat me. And she will certainly go and visit what we came to call the Palace of Tears, to see her favorite slave after she beats me." Well, the king and the sultan stayed up talking and they came up with a plan. And after they'd come up with a plan, both of them slept quite well. And when they awakened in the morning, the king was in good spirits, better than he had been for quite some time. The Sultan went out, and in the garden, he found the Palace of Tears. And there, laying on a table, a cushioned table with blankets over it, was this dear slave to the enchantress, the queen of the Black Isles, the king's wife, her favorite slave. Hardly a bit of life left in him. Well, the Sultan snuffed out that last bit of life that was left in that slave. And he took the body and he cast it away. Story is he cast it down in a well where it would not be found, or at least not easily. And then he laid upon that table and he covered himself with the blankets. Now that slave had been Ethiopian, and the Sultan, well, we'll find out what he does with that information. The enchantress, the queen, as she did each and every morning, went and beat her husband, the king. 100 blows. And from there she left and went to the Palace of Tears. And when she got to its entryway, quite a number of feet away, she spoke to her dear slave and said, my dear one, do you have words for me today?" And the Sultan, who was pretending to be the slave in an Ethiopian accent, said, Yes, I do have words for you today." And the queen, the enchantress, she said, "Oh my, you are feeling better." And the Sultan replied, "How could I be feeling better when I hear the groans and moans and cries of your husband each and every day? Would you like me to return him to his natural form?" the enchantress asked. "Yes, please, immediately. Relieve me from hearing his moans and groans." And so the enchantress, she went out, she got some water, she began to do some incantations over the water until the water was boiling, as if it was over a fire. And then she took that water and she threw it on top of the king. And when she did, he regained his natural shape, much to his delight. But she said to him, You must go now. Go, and may I never see you again. For if I do, I will kill you, she said. For the king of the Black Isles, he made as if to leave, but hid himself to see what would happen next. The enchantress went back to the Palace of Tears, and there she said, Now are you feeling better? And the Sultan replied, I cannot be feeling better yet, for each and every night, all those people that you turned into fish, they come to the surface of the lake, and their heads pop out of the water, and they cry for vengeance. You must free them from the shape that you have given them. Then perhaps I will feel better. Again, the enchantress, she went out, and over water, she spoke words, incantations, and then she threw this up into the air and blew it in the direction of the lake and the desert, which that beautiful, flourishing city once had been. And when she did, all the fish regained their human shapes, the lake was gone, and the town, again, was in its place. The shops, thriving with people, as if nothing had ever happened. Now you must remember that the Sultan's, all of his men had encamped themselves on the side of the lake. And you can imagine their surprise when suddenly they were surrounded by people and in the midst of a town. The enchantress returned to the Palace of Tears. And now she went up to her dear slave, very close to the table. And she said, Now, my dear one, now are you feeling better? The Sultan said, Come nearer, come nearer. And he brought her right up to the side of him. Now he had his saber laying on the table next to him. He threw off the blankets, and with a single blow, it is said, the enchantress became 2 pieces instead of 1. The Sultan came off the table, and he and the King of the Black Isles, they embraced. The King of the Black Isles was so thankful. And the Sultan said, This is great. You are free now. And I am free to go back to my kingdom, which I am so happy to know lies so close to yours. So close to mine, said the King of the Black Isles. I am afraid you are deceived, because your kingdom is at least a year's march away from mine. I think it is only because of the enchantment that you found it so close. Well, said the Sultan, I will be on my way then. Perhaps you will accompany me so I might find it more easily. This the King of the Black Isles agreed to do, and he lavished the Sultan with all kinds of gifts. And soon there was a procession, including, of course, the Sultan's men, back to his land, back to his kingdom. Now, along the way, it said that the King of the Black Isles and the Sultan became very, very good friends. The Sultan did not have a son of his own. And so, during that trip, he had resolved to make the King of the Black Isles his heir. And when he arrived back, he made certain that all in his company were given gifts and presents according to their rank. But he called again the fishermen to him, and to the fishermen he gave great wealth, For it was because of the fishermen, of course, that all of this had unfolded. Now, you might ask, what happened to that genie? And what was his story anyway? How was it that he enraged Solomon? It was said that this genie, he was one of the most powerful genies that there were. It's said that they inhabited the earth after the angels and before the people, and were powerful indeed. They were, of course, to be in service of the highest. But this particular genie, after having helped Solomon build the Temple of Jerusalem, had taken a magic ring from Solomon. This magic ring allowed Solomon to have control or power over the genies. And this genie had taken it and cast Solomon out of Jerusalem. Solomon had spent 40 days and nights in his quest to reclaim the ring, which he eventually did. And once he did, he cast that genie into the bottle that the fisherman found him in. It seems that whenever it is that we do things that are out of alignment with appreciation, with love, that are out of alignment with, I think, the creative forces that have given rise to everything, including ourselves, we are always in some way or another brought back to that place. Now, Scheherazade, she ended the story somewhere, but she began another great tale, of which tomorrow I will share with you. Okay, hope you enjoyed, and thanks for joining.